I never said this, and I'm not sure it's true, but people say we're like the gay friends. We have a coffee shop because my life is coffee that we return to so many times throughout the series, and it's about the bond. Mine has some drama in it, so it's like a dramedy, but we weigh mostly on comedy. My life is both, all the time. And I wanted to tell the real story. We've all done a bunch of monologues now for a campaign we're going to be doing. My actors will come to me and say, "Can I know who I'm based on?" And I said, "Yes, but you better sign an NDA because we will never say who you're based on."
Well, howdy, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Entertainment Exposed with your hosts here, David Reddish and Scott Fullerton. And look at that. We have a new handsome face in the crowd. Jonny Shuffield is joining us today. If those of you that know us, Jonny and I have hosted podcasts together, and I've been in awe of his creative minds, and David's let both of us crash on his couches, so we have a lot going on here. But Jonny is here. You are making a brand new sitcom this summer. I'm all excited about it. So I'm going to let you give the first couple words, and we'll let David respond because he's our resident expert. So beware.
I know I've seen all the work David's been doing out there. I mean, he is more than the resident expert. He's out there. Thank you to you both for letting me come on. I wrote a sitcom about 11 years ago now. I wrote it based on a breakup that I had when I lived in Tulsa. And I was 36, and I remember thinking, what the hell am I doing? I had a husband with money. I got to spend his money. I lived in this huge house, had the 2 dogs, everything that we're told that is how you know you're a successful adult. But I was not a happy man. And so I went from that 4,000 square foot house to an 800 square foot shack that had these things called camel crickets. I don't suggest them. They jump backwards and they can swim. It was terrifying.
Humps? Like, I don't understand.
Oh, yeah.
Camel cricket.
It's scary. They're huge too. So I remember thinking with my friends, I'm like, did I just throw the whole deal away? And what we quickly realized is that bill of sale that we are told is how you know your success is just a bunch of junk. And that really the rules of life have to do with who you surround yourself with and the rules you want them to be. And so I have this theory that we are all somewhere out there, we're all almost where we think we should be, but never, we're not quite. And so I wrote a show called Almost Not Quite about how my friends surrounded me and helped me survive something, and I want to share with others. Plus, I think this is the time we need more queer stories more than ever. So, I've been messing with this for a while, but everything the stars aligned where I am now. And all of a sudden, all these locations have jumped on and they were out of nowhere. So I thought better do it. I have a full cast. I have a full crew. I have a full, all the Tylenol you can think because it's exhausting, but it's so exciting. And we have our very first, actually, we have scheduled June, July, and August for shoot dates with different locations. We have 7 wonderful locations. The community here really has surrounded us. And I thought, let's do it. That's me.
Love that, David.
So now you had done. I was researching you, Jonny, even though you slept on my couch.
That's scary.
I was researching. You've done other similar series before. You did one called Almost Together, Not Quite back in 2021. Now, are the two related? They have similar titles. Are the two related?
So I was when I lived in LA, we were gonna shoot this. We had a cast. We have 7,000 people who auditioned for it. And we got a beautiful cast that I'm still friends with today. But we were scheduled to shoot the first pilot episode the week that LA shut down for pandemic because it was in 2020. And I thought, I'm an actor. I know how we are. If you leave actors with nothing to do, they wander off. And so I wrote a side series called Almost Not Quite Together Apart. And it was us connecting over Zooms because the world was scary at that point. So I wrote 60 episodes of that, and it helped the actors kind of dig deep, figure these characters out even more. So yeah, I always say real art is in the art of the pivot. You have to be able to and willing to pivot when you have to. So when, that was a year of what in the world. So a couple years after the pandemic, I moved back to Spokane, Washington. And so all of a sudden things started happening. And I have to say, my cast, each of them from LA reached out when they saw that we were redoing it, and they were nothing but kind and so sweet. And they said, I know this is something you've been working for really hard for a long time, and we are so happy that it's happening. And those are good people. You got to keep them around. Yeah.
So it's an all new cast, just to be clear. Yeah.
It's a whole new cast. It's a whole new everything. Yeah, other than the script.
Exciting thing too is a lot of great sitcoms, everything these days, where the location is as much a character as the characters, right? And so talk to me about how it changes from LA to online Zoom to now having all these locations in Spokane, Washington to choose from. That's got to be kind of exciting, but different all at the same time.
It was, especially when you have to have a new version of 12 episode script that you wrote. It's like, but I wrote the script when I lived in Spokane before. Then I moved. But what I love about Spokane is it's the second largest city in Washington, and yet it's such a small town feel. And it is such a character here that I feel like it's a town that wants to be a city, but isn't quite there yet. So it fit right into the storyline of it. And then when we decided to embrace Spokane and celebrate it and celebrate the businesses and the culture here, that's when the locations came one after the other. Our email was flooded when we did a post asking for it. And I'm very grateful because they all just want to do it to support this story. And that's pretty lucky. Every day I wake up and I'm like, is this happening? Are we there? But we are.
And we know that those sound stages in Spokane are booked up years in advance.
So much.
It's important to find locations that support you.
Exactly. I think it was like maybe 12, 13 years ago, we did some zombie show, Zombie Nation, something. And they came to Spokane to film it. And so now Spokane is just waiting for another thing. So the actors are all excited. Train Dreams, they got an Oscar. It was filmed here. So I'm like, I better get in before SAG takes over the whole place because we're independent. I can't listen. I am a poor artist, but yeah, we have contracts with SAG. It's going well.
Very cool. Very cool. So what can you tell us, because you've sort of been down this territory before with the first series, how is this one, apart from not being on Zoom and shooting on location, how is this one going to be different and a different exploration of the same idea?
Like I said, we're very community involved. So all of the locations are independent, just like us. They are small businesses. And so we delve into what is it like in Spokane? What is it like with this guy? And we're all just trying to figure life out. He's crazy, larger than life, maybe a little bit like me. How is it that they're in this? Because I feel like all of us have a story, right? All of us go through stuff like this. How are they navigating it within this very particular place? And I think the Pacific Northwest, wonderful. I love it here. I mean, it has been raining for 3 days, on brand. That's not the fun part. But it's with all of I think what I missed each time was, I think I tried to shoot it in LA I had one location booked and it could take 3 episodes. Now I have all locations booked. People who have been acting forever, typically they fly between here and LA. So I feel like we have a better footing than we ever had in the past.
Very nice. And you talk about it being very much about found family and everything and chosen family. I've been very lucky to read a couple of them advanced scripts. Characters are hilarious. Talk about, you said 7,000 people in LA. You had a pretty big casting group going in Spokane as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about who you found on there, how you found.
We picked a date out of nowhere in February 15th. And we had auditions for 2 days. And I tried to be very organized. So I had a spreadsheet and people would call or they would send an email. We had to keep making room on that. And then people would say, if I just wait in the lobby and I said, I can't guarantee you anything, but people showed up. So the enthusiasm then started to catch. And then I'm sure all creators feel this way, to watch your words out of someone else's mouth and how they characterize it was amazing. I will say by the end of the second day, I was tired of hearing my words, but it was a lot of fun. Yes. So we got
That's
lucky.
awesome.
We got a ton of people and then we got a full cast, which is not easy to wrangle actors, but so far so good.
So if you could liken it, just to give our listeners a little bit of an idea of what to expect, if you could liken it to like another popular sitcom, what is it similar to? Like, what's it in the vein of?
And I will preface this with, I never said this, and I'm not sure it's true, but people say we're like the gay friends. You know, we have a coffee shop because my life is coffee that we return to so many times throughout the series. And it's about the bond. I mean, that's what Friends was, the bond. Mine has some drama in it. So it's like a dramedy, but we weigh mostly on comedy, but there is drama because my life is both, you know, all the time. And I wanted to tell the real story. I tell my actors all the time. So we've all done a bunch of monologues now for a campaign we're going to be doing. And my actors will come to me and say, can I know who I'm based on? And I said, yes, but you better sign an NDA because we will never say who you're based on. But to know that they're real people and it helps them to mold it. I have an amazing director, Ron Ford, he lived in LA. He's done a ton of stuff. We have this amazing guy and I'm working with him and we are molding these voices that to me is an homage to people who have meant so much to me. And then the actors are so respectful of the material. And I'm always in awe of that part.
And as so many films and TV series are these days, you're looking for funding through crowdfunding, which makes it even more treacherous, but also more exciting because when you have that small town community feel and everything, you want to go throughout the country, but you're also kind of talking to other artists and everything. I think you found a good home in one of those that you're building together. Talk to me about how you're funding.
Yeah, it's something that they use in LA a lot. And I have a lot of thanks to Scott for sending me in that direction. Because, listen, it's truly in the art of how do you advertise. You know, the platforms are amazing, but also, with Kickstarter, it's all or nothing. With this lovely company, if you get 80% of your goal, you get all the money that you. So that's a good thing, but I will tell you, I find it very lucky that a lot of our cost has been deferred because of people being kind enough. So I've been able to keep my budget down, but it's still roll the dice. Everybody right now in this economy is going through it.
Yeah.
So you're still hoping, but I'm also really loud and I don't have a lot of fear when it comes to asking because they can say no and that's fine. But if I don't ask you at all, you're not going to give me nothing. So we're excited about that. We are waiting for our final video to be approved and then that will launch. And the hope is to launch next week.
That's exciting. So what's your target release date for the show?
Not until December, because we're going to be shooting until end of October to get all 12 episodes done. And then, of course, we're going to take November to, edit it and brand it and make it. And so our hope is we'll have a red carpet release here in Spokane at 2 different independent theaters in December. And then, it gives us a good 6 months to hit the circuit, to go around and see if we can't get some awards and some recognition at these film festivals.
And David is our resident expert in scoring music and everything when it comes to films. Do you kind of have in your mind a theme or a musical playthrough in your head already? Or is that something you add afterwards? What do you think of when you think of music as you're creating the series?
So I will say, because we're not going to use a laugh track, so music is even more important in something like this. And I will say that a lot of it will be done in post, but You know how you put feelers out there? I have some lovely people in LA that I adore that are amazing musicians, and like kind of reach out and be like, would you ever compose? Or like, I don't know if you know Tom Goss, who of course is huge in the bear community, and I've known Tom since before I ever went to LA, and I reached out to him because he wrote a song for us during Together Apart, which I was very grateful. And I reached out and I said, I kind of need the boyfriend character to sing this. And then I'm like, if you feel like writing anything else, we'll be here at the end. So that has to be in the show now. Music has to come later. We have a whole nightclub in episode 3, and I'm like, I can't play Rihanna or I will be poor. So, you have to have music created. Plus, there's so many people who I want to give the opportunity to have an experience like this. So there's a lot of our extras have never shot. And I was talking yesterday with the lady who owns the nightclub we're using, and I said, when we shoot that, they're going to be dancing, but they won't hear anything. And I don't think they are aware that you have to dance silently so we don't mess up sound. And it's my favorite thing on movies is to watch people dance because I know they have no idea what's going on. So I have some feelers out. I really want a good soundtrack. I'm a very sentimental fool, which is why I'm super glad my boyfriend has to sing me a song. That's great. If I have to write this stuff to get it in my life, I'll do
it. Very cool. You're in good hands with Tom Goss. I've worked with him before. I was in one of his music videos. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's amazing. And as a human being, he is just the sweetest guy ever. And for me, so we have a rule on set. First of all, respect is number one. Second of all, we protect queer joy on that set. I want this to be a joyous, beautiful experience. Now, I'm not stupid. I know it's business, but my priority is how can we and Tom is nothing but fun. So things like that. And to be able to know that when I did a radio show, the rule on our show when we would have actors on was, are you down to play? Because if you're not down to play, I'm not interested. No, you can't have a list of my questions. They all want a list of questions. Just show up and let's have a good time. If you're down, we're down. So I have the same rule on this show. Let's be down to play.
I love that. So exciting for you. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to bring the city a lot of excitement. Do you have any kind of premiere involved? Are you looking to go to YouTube? Are you looking to go to a streaming service? Do you have any distribution in mind yet? Or what is the plan on that?
I can tell you that's the number one question everybody asks. And it's complicated in the back end. I borrowed some actors from SAG. They are wonderful, but you have to sign a contract if you're going to be an independent film and they're going to work with you. So part of the rule of that is we can show on a free platform the first year after contract. You can show on YouTube. You can do the circuit. They're very kind. You can do the circuit. I can have a red carpet premiere, and we're going to do it in a few cities. But other than that, you're not allowed to even meet with distributors. So I have the distributors I've met before. Of course, we met with Here TV, and that was amazing. We've met with Amazon Prime in the past. Both of them have requested meetings. And I said, awesome, I can give you a proof of concept, but I will talk to you next year. So those things are in place because you have to think about it, that kind of stuff. But I'm a little shackled, but actually, I think it's kind of fun. You have freedom for a year that you maybe wouldn't have if you were able to sell it right away. So I think we're going to have a good time. The cast is going to have so much fun. Everybody involved I want on our red carpet so they can feel celebrated. And then when it's time to do business, I am no stranger to it and I'm not afraid.
I love that. And like you said, there's great streaming out there now, and it's just growing every day. Another streaming. You got Here TV, you have Out TV, you have Deku, you have so many great places. We're running out of time. David, I'm going to let you have the final question here.
My goodness. Are you acting in this yourself, Jonny, or are you just going to direct it?
Because it's based on my life, you better believe I'm in it. I will say, thankful I'm not directing, because in LA, I was directing, writing, producing, all of it. Never do that to yourself. But I am starring in it and writing it, obviously, and being the showrunner. So that's enough. That's enough.
That's great. Do you have a director attached to that?
I do. His name is Ron Ford. He's done a number of movies. He was actually in Train Dreams that got the Oscar. He's been doing this for a long time, and I tease him constantly. He's a man of few words, but he knows what he likes. And I'm a theater director. I love breaking down character. I do not love the technical part of filming. So he takes all of that on, but he is the kindest, sweetest, and very smart man. So I kind of lean on him I sent him a note this morning and I'm like, I'm thinking about this for the pilot. We should have these people in. And then he's not afraid to say, I actually think it's a bad idea. And he's like, is that cool with you? I'm like, listen, I work with you because I trust you. So it's a really good, but definitely look up Ron Ford. He's just the coolest guy ever.
Very cool.
I love it. And you're finding great behind the scenes in Spokane. You found costumers, you found hair designers, you finding the whole 9 yards, right?
Yes, and I'm always in awe of them. I'm shooting what we call a slam, which is you have 3 days to write, direct, produce, everything. And so all of my same team is going to go help us do this. And our costumers, I would have never dreamed they can make anything happen. Our hair and makeup team show up out of nowhere. They did the photo shoot. And so, yeah, we've been very, very lucky. And I still get emails till this morning of people saying, how can I help? And I'm like, the fact that you're willing, I've got plenty for you to do.
Well, Jonathan, David, and I appreciate so much you taking the time to come on. Remind my listeners what platform they should be looking for this fundraiser in the next week or so and where they can follow you guys on social media.
Got it. I will say our most popular platform that we use is Instagram. It's crazy. I don't typically do a lot of socials because I don't have a lot of time, but people go insane. I would say Instagram, if you follow almost not quite. That's everything you could ever imagine. We've been releasing character profiles and behind the scenes stuff, and people tend to really enjoy those. So that's where to go. Go to Instagram and find us.
Very good. Well, Jonathan Shuffield, thanks so much for being on Entertainment Exposed. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds with the news of the week. We'll be right back. All righty, we are back. David, it's time for the news of the week. Lots of new projects going on. I don't think we'd have time to go over. I've been reading of upcoming releases, and there's a lot of things in development right now. But what's on your hot button for the week?
In development, not a whole lot coming down the pipeline. However, there are a few exciting announcements coming. For one thing, CinemaCon was just held where they showed the first 7 minutes of Dune Part 3 and a scene from Spider-Man Brand New Day, both of which are getting a lot of really, really great buzz. So that is encouraging. Warner Brothers yesterday, ahead of this debacle of a sale, which is still being held up and we don't know what's going on, so don't ask us, people. They don't know either. Warner Brothers announced the cast of its next Lord of the Rings movie. Now, just to remind everybody, this is a midquel called The Hunt for Gollum that takes place between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and it's about Gollum's travels as he's searching for the ring that he has lost to Bilbo, and he encounters Sauron, the Dark Lord, for the first time. So Elijah Wood and Ian McKellen are coming back from Lord of the Rings. Lee Pace is coming back from the Hobbit films as Thorondil, the Elf King. But the big announcements yesterday were that Jamie Dornan of 50 Shades of Grey fame, we all saw his shaft, if indeed we suffered through those movies. Full frontal, everybody. He is the new Aragorn. So Viggo Mortensen is obviously 20-something years older than he would have been at the time he played Aragorn back in the early 2000s. They shot from like 1999 until I think 2001, if I remember correctly. May even be longer than that. So he's visibly aged, so he's not coming back to play Aragorn because Aragorn is a character that needs to be younger than he actually appears in Lord of the Rings. So Jamie Dornan is stepping into that role, and Kate Winslet, Oscar winner, legend, we all love her, is going to be playing the female lead. She has been revealed to be Marigold of Stores. Now, I am a Tolkien fan. I'm wearing Tolkien jewelry right now as I speak. However, I had no idea who Marigold of Stores was, and in fact, it's hard to find who Marigold of Stores is in the many Tolkien online encyclopedias. From what I've been able to deduce, she is the mayor of Stores, which there are 3 different kinds of hobbits in the Lord of the Rings series. Stores are the most human-like. They are able to grow beards. They're a little bit taller. And I think she's playing the leader of these Stores hobbits. That's important because if you remember, if you know Lord of the Rings, before Gollum became Gollum, he was a hobbit named Smeagol, and he was from Stores. So it's not clear exactly if this is going to be Kate Winslet in flashbacks, if she will be related to Smeagol in some way. Andy Serkis is coming back to play the role again of Gollum. He's also directing the film. Or if she's going to be involved with Aragorn and Gandalf looking for Gollum and trying to figure out his backstory as to how he found the One Ring in the first place. So that's exciting. They're due to start shooting, I think, in just a few months in New Zealand.
That is very exciting. For those of our listeners that aren't familiar with it, CinemaCon happens every year. It's where the who's who of Hollywood kind of try to sell what's coming out in the upcoming year as far as movies go. They're talking to a lot of theater owners. Never short on star power. Like you said, that 7-minute Dune trailer had a lot of, I think Zendaya was there. I think Jason Momoa was there. Tom Cruise made a surprise appearance, pushing a little something. And of course, I'm always excited to see little Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman were there for Practical Magic too. So was not short on star power. A lot of good previews, and it still goes for 2 more days. We record this on Wednesday for Friday, so looking forward to the rest of the announcements. So yeah, CinemaCon is always a lot of fun to hear what's going on. That's exciting. What else you got, my friend?
In gayer news, much gayer news, I read Liza Minnelli's memoir over the weekend. Kids, wait until you hear this. And it is juicy, everybody. If you are a fan of Liza or of her clan, her sister Lorna, or of course her mom, Judy Garland, her dad, Vincent Minnelli, the great director of Mimi in St. Louis and Lust for Life. She has a lot to say about these people. It's noteworthy both because she discusses her personal life and her struggles with addiction, which are, I think, much more harrowing than anybody actually knew up to this point. But it's the most she's ever talked about her mom. Liza famously does not like to discuss her mom because she doesn't want her mom to steal focus from her, which is understandable. But the first good third of the book is just about her mother and her relationship with her. She's very, very candid in saying my mom was abusive. I loved her to death, but because of her addiction issues, she was very abusive at times. Liza talks about finding her after a suicide attempt when Liza was 8, finding her covered in blood on the floor of the bathroom, and then having to search the house constantly to find all the drugs and the booze that she had hidden around. She doesn't exactly speak well of most of Judy's husbands, but she also is fiercely defensive of her mom. And the thing that she wants to stress from the prologue to the book until the very, very end is that addiction and substance use disorder are very, very dangerous diseases, and you need treatment. And the thing her mom was never able to really get was real treatment. And then because people had lost all of her mom's money and were using her as a meal ticket, she was not able to really get the help. She was never able to rest. She was never able to really go to rehab and recover. And so she kept slipping back into cycles until that ultimately resulted in her death, unfortunately. It's a fascinating read, certainly. And Liza definitely has some scores to settle. People who do not come up in the book well, Lady Gaga, which was a big shock to me because Liza is an avowed fan of Gaga. Gaga is an avowed fan of Liza. Liza, if you remember, about 3 years ago, the two of them presented the Best Picture Oscar at the Academy Awards, where Liza was in a wheelchair, which sort of shocked everybody because nobody expected that. Liza goes into great details as to why that happened the way it did. She was not supposed to be in a wheelchair. They would only let her go on stage if she was in it because they were afraid she would not be steady on her feet. And if she was in just a regular chair, that she would fall out of it for some reason. Liza also accuses Gaga of giving her a cognitive exam before they went on stage. What movie were you wanting? Did you win an Oscar for? What year did it come out? What was the name of the character you played? Liza was very insulted by that. And then to get on stage with no direction, Liza had no idea what was going on. So Gaga could say, "It's okay, I got you." And then everyone's sort of fawning over, "Oh, Gaga is such a good friend." It's like, well, this was all staged. So Liza, this is the only time she mentions Lady Gaga in the entire book, and does not speak well of her. She speaks very, very well of Madonna, of Beyonce, of Taylor Swift, of Billie Eilish, other sort of pop stars of the moment. She calls Beyonce a goddess, so I think she sort of sees her as her real successor. Liza also is famous for not wanting to discuss her marriages, but she does so at length, as well as her relationships with people like Martin Scorsese and Mikhail Baryshnikov and Charles Aznavour and Bob Fosse, all of whom she comes to having very, very passionate affairs with. But she also says the love of her life was Peter Allen, her first husband, who was gay, which was a problem for their relationship. Or bisexual. There's some dispute among Peter's friends. Was he gay? Was he bi? But nobody denies the fact that he loved Liza very, very much, and she was deeply in love with him. And neither of them really understood he was gay when they got married, but they shortly thereafter figured that out. And unfortunately, it was what killed their marriage, as you might expect. But it's a fascinating story of show business where she does not pull many punches. She's honest about the co-stars who were not kind to her, the directors that were not kind to her. She expresses her frustration. She at one point was going to play the lead in Evita, the movie, and at one point was going to play the lead in a Gypsy remake. She did screen tests for both of those. I found the idea of her playing Mama Rose particularly interesting given her family history, but for whatever reason, those movies did not materialize in the incarnations where she was attached. And so she didn't get to play those parts, but she still wants to keep working. She's 80. She's very honest about the fact that she's had an encephalitis relapse, which is why if you see her or hear her, she's very sort of shaky on her feet and her voice is very shaky. Encephalitis is a very difficult to treat disease that can reoccur, and that's what she's dealing with right now. It started causing seizures for her, but she wants to keep working. And so she's hoping for another great role before she officially retires. So it's a great read to anyone who's a fan of Liza or of her family, or who just likes a really, really great showbiz story.
I am a huge biography fan. I love reading biographies, so I am looking forward, because you're right, there's a lot of things that she doesn't usually touch on that you kind of share there. So I'm going to be looking for that this weekend. So wow, that's exciting stuff. A couple of quickies that I have before we start to wind down. Everyone likes to know about our box office takes. Super Mario Galaxy still dominating, already up to $629 million in 2 weeks of release on a budget of $110 million. Project Hail Mary hit that magic number, 510 million global box office. That's what it's looking for to help pay for that budget of 248 million. So really did good. And the drama in week 2 held pretty good. It has a total of 65 million worldwide on a $28 million budget. So that's exciting. 3 new films came out last weekend. None of them were able to defeat. These are the same top 3 as last week. And another quick thing, where they announced the entries into this year's Cannes Film Festival.
Yes.
And there's at least six LGBTQ films for consideration. Only one really American release among the top ones. It's really foreign films aplenty this year. Bringing it back to Lord of the Rings, 2 honorary Palme d'Ors. Jackson is getting one, along with Barbara Streisand for the honorary award. So that's going to be interesting. But those are a couple of quick hot takes that I had. Anything else you want to go over before we head on out here? Coachella was not overly interesting, but it was fun.
It's exciting for Barbara Streisand and Peter Jackson. Cannes is still held in enormously high regard within the film community. I did see Project Hail Mary last week. It is fun. It's not great. It's not as great as it thinks it is. It's kind of trying to be E.T. and Contact and 2001. It's trying to be a little too much, but Ryan Gosling's very good in it. And Sandra Hüller, the German actress, extremely good in her scenes as well. It is moving in places. The problem is it goes on a little too long and milks the cow a little too much. I chalk that up to Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the directors who are known for slapstick comedy, because it also has a little too much slapstick comedy for it to want to be taken seriously, and it does want to be taken deadly serious in places. So Mixed review from me, but definitely check it out if you have the opportunity. It's a great looking film, and it is very entertaining.
Nice. Well, guys, we appreciate you sticking around for the extended edition. We go a little longer when we have a guest in. Again, special thanks to Jonny Shuffield for talking about his new television project. And it's going to be, I think, Seed and Spark is the name of the funding site. So be sure to look for it there. And we'll be talking more about his stuff. We'll put some links to that. And David, as always, politics is not slowing down, my friend. You can check the David Reddish Show. David, mind where they can find you there and on social media, my friend?
Yes, you can find the David Reddish Show on YouTube simply by searching the name, or you can find me on Instagram at @thegayMagneto, all one word.
Fantastic. You can find all this on Left of Straight podcast. I have a couple of fun interviews coming Broadway bound, and I'm in negotiations right now to talk to one of my favorite, Jesse L. Martin. Hopefully she come up pretty soon. Who I absolutely love from Flash and Law & Order, and of course, the original Rent. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you so much, David, and have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.